You did not stumble into this message by accident. Something inside you has been restless, a quiet tension in your spirit. Moments you replay in your mind that make no logical sense, a delay, an interruption, a strange encounter that seemed random at the time, but it never left you. You keep remembering it, a stray animal in the road, standing in your path, refusing to move. You thought it was coincidence, but deep down, something in your spirit hesitated, because chosen one, your life has never followed ordinary patterns. Your path has always been marked by strange interruptions, doors closing suddenly, plans collapsing without warning, people disappearing when you thought they would stay. At first it felt like rejection, like the world was blocking you. But over time something became clear. You were not being rejected, you were being redirected. The ordinary world moves by chance, but the life of the chosen moves by divine interference. The enemy plans traps. He studies your destiny. He studies your timing. He studies the doors that could pull you away from your assignment. But heaven watches too. And sometimes, protection does not arrive in the way people expect. Sometimes an angel does not appear in shining light. Sometimes the messenger has fur. Sometimes the warning has pause. Sometimes heaven sends the smallest creature to interrupt the biggest mistake of your life. And only later do you realize that moment was not random, it was intervention. Because when you carry an assignment on your life, the spiritual realm responds to your movements. Darkness watches, but heaven also intervenes. And there are moments where something small steps into your path and silently says, stop, not here, not this direction. Today we are revealing 9 signs that an angel may have used a stray animal to block a path that was never meant for you. Some of these signs will feel strangely familiar. Some will make your past suddenly make sense. And one of them may confirm something you have secretly wondered for years. Stay alert, stay open, and if your spirit is already sensing truth in these words, take a moment to stand with others who walk this narrow path. Subscribe, not for entertainment, but for alignment, because messages like this do not find everyone. They find those who are meant to hear them. Now listen carefully. First, the animal appeared exactly when you were about to make a defining decision. Not hours before, not later in the day, right at the threshold, right at the moment you were moving forward. And that timing matters, because chosen one, destiny moments rarely announce themselves. They look ordinary, a drive down the road, a walk down a street, a quick step forward into a decision you think is small. But the spiritual realm knows something you cannot yet see. Some decisions open doors, others open traps. And just before you stepped fully into that direction, something stepped in front of you. A stray animal, not owned, not expected, not planned, just suddenly there. Standing in your way, blocking the road, refusing to move. At first you thought it was inconvenience, annoying, pointless. But notice what happened next. You slowed down, you hesitated, your momentum broke, your mind shifted out of autopilot, and that small pause may have saved you from something you never saw coming. This is how heaven often works with the chosen. Not loud, not dramatic, precise. The enemy thrives on speed, on rushing you, on pushing you into decisions before your spirit can catch up. But heaven interrupts speed. Heaven inserts friction. Heaven forces a pause. And sometimes the messenger is a creature the world would ignore. But your spirit noticed something strange, didn't it? The timing felt too perfect, too precise, almost like the moment had been arranged. That is because sometimes it was. Animals are far more sensitive to the spiritual realm than humans realize. They feel presence. They feel instruction. They respond to movements in the unseen that most people dismiss. And in certain moments, they are positioned, not randomly, strategically, to delay you, to interrupt you, to block a step that would have taken you somewhere dangerous. And the powerful truth is this: what looked like inconvenience may have been protection. What looked like delay may have been rescue. What looked like a stray animal may have been a messenger standing silently between you and the wrong door. Chosen one interruptions in your life are rarely accidents. They are warnings. They are redirections. They are mercy. And if this first sign already echoes something in your past, then what comes next may reveal even more, because the pattern becomes even clearer when you see the second sign. The animal refused to move. You remember that moment. You expected it to run. Most animals do. The world moves by fear. Creatures scatter. Noise sends them fleeing. But this one did not move. It stood there, still, calm, unshaken, right in your path. You stepped forward. You made noise. You tried to pass. Yet it remained, almost as if an invisible line had been drawn across the ground, and that line was not meant to be crossed. At the time, it confused you, maybe even irritated you. Why won't it move? Why is it just standing there? But chosen one, understand this. Ordinary animals follow instinct, but sometimes instinct is overridden. Sometimes a creature responds to a command you cannot hear, because the spiritual realm does not only speak to human ears. Creation listens. Animals sense frequencies your mind cannot detect. They feel spiritual presence long before humans notice anything unusual. That is why animals react before disasters, why birds scatter before storms, why dogs grow restless when darkness enters a space. They sense the unseen, and in certain moments, they obey it. That creature standing in your path was not acting normal. It was acting positioned, guarding something, blocking something, protecting you. Because there are moments in the life of the chosen where heaven places a boundary you cannot see, a line drawn quietly across your path, not with thunder, not with a loud warning, just a silent blockade. And only those who carry destiny encounter these strange barriers. The world walks straight into traps, straight into chaos, straight into decisions that drain their calling. But your steps are watched, not just by darkness, but by heaven. The enemy studies your movements. He studies your weaknesses. He sets snares in places where you are tired, distracted, emotionally vulnerable. He hopes you will rush forward without thinking, because one wrong step can shift seasons. One wrong door can delay destiny, but heaven intervenes, sometimes softly, sometimes strangely, and sometimes through something the world would call insignificant. A stray animal standing still, unmoving, unafraid, refusing to leave your path. Think about that. Animals usually fear humans. They run, they avoid confrontation. Yet this one held its ground. Why? Because in that moment, it was not responding to you. It was responding to instruction, a quiet command from the unseen. Do not move. Do not let this one pass. Not here, not today. Chosen one. Your life contains moments like this because your path is not ordinary. You are not wandering randomly through life. You are walking through spiritual territory, through warfare, through divine strategy. And sometimes protection does not look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like resistance, something blocking your way, something refusing to cooperate with your plans, something forcing you to stop. And you wonder, why is everything suddenly resisting me? Why won't this path open? Why does something feel like it's standing in the way? Because sometimes it is, not the enemy. Protection, heaven standing guard over your destiny. And what looked like an obstacle was actually a shield. What looked like irritation was actually intervention. Because if the boundary had moved, you might have stepped into something that would have taken years to recover from. That is the hidden mercy of divine resistance. And chosen one, if that strange stillness once stood in your path, then the next sign may reveal something even deeper about that moment. Because what happened inside you during that encounter matters even more. Third sign, something shifted inside you the moment it happened, not outside. Inside, you expected irritation, you expected frustration. That is how most people react when their path is blocked. But that is not what happened to you. Instead, you paused. Something quiet moved through your chest, a strange calm, a sudden awareness. You did not fully understand it, but you felt it. And that feeling matters more than you realize. Because chosen ones often feel spiritual signals before the mind catches up. Your spirit recognizes movement in the unseen long before your logic can explain it. The world ignores these moments, They rush forward. They brush off the feeling. They push past the pause. But you did not. Something inside you hesitated, almost as if an invisible hand rested gently on your spirit and whispered, "Wait." Think about that. An animal blocks your path. Yet instead of anger, you feel a quiet shift. Why? Because your spirit was sensing something sacred happening in an ordinary moment. Chosen one. Your sensitivity is not weakness. It is equipment. It is part of your design. The same sensitivity that made you feel misunderstood growing up. The same awareness that made you uncomfortable in certain environments. The same inner alarm that warned you about people others trusted. That sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a spiritual antenna. You feel before you see. You sense before you understand. And darkness hates that about you, because the enemy prefers people who are numb, people who rush, people who silence the quiet warnings rising in their spirit. But you are not built that way. You pause. You feel, you question, you listen, even when you cannot explain why. That moment with the animal triggered that deeper awareness inside you. For a second, the noise of life slowed down. Your thoughts shifted, your spirit leaned forward, and something inside you asked a question the mind could not yet form. Why does this moment feel different? Why does this feel important? Because heaven had just interrupted your path, and your spirit recognized it before your mind did. This is why your journey has always felt different from others. People called you overthinking, too sensitive, too aware, but they never understood what was really happening. You were detecting things they could not perceive. Energy, intentions, spiritual atmosphere. You sensed when something was wrong, even when everyone else smiled and said everything was fine. That awareness has protected you more times than you know. It has pulled you away from people who would have drained your calling. It has delayed decisions that would have damaged your destiny. And in that moment with the stray animal, it activated again. The pause, the calm, the strange stillness inside you. That was not random emotion. That was spiritual recognition. Your spirit responding to divine interference. Chosen ones are often guided through subtle signals like this. Not loud instructions, not booming voices, just a shift, a feeling. A sudden awareness that something unseen is moving around you. And if you look back now, you may realize something. That moment stayed with you. It lingered. You replayed it in your mind later. Because your spirit knew that was not just an animal. That was a moment of protection, a moment of redirection, a moment where heaven quietly adjusted the course of your path. And what happens next in these encounters often reveals the deeper purpose behind them. Because sometimes the interruption does more than pause you. Sometimes it delays you, just long enough to change everything. Fourth sign, the delay changed everything. At the time it felt small, just a pause, just a moment lost, just a strange interruption in your movement. You slowed down. Maybe you stopped the car. Maybe you stepped back. Maybe you waited longer than you planned. A few seconds, maybe a minute. Nothing dramatic. But heaven does not measure time the way humans do. What feels like seconds to you can shift entire outcomes in the unseen. And that delay matters more than you realized. Because the enemy builds traps around timing, not just decisions, timing. He studies moments when you will arrive somewhere too early or too late. He studies the exact second when your path intersects with danger. Darkness works through precision, but heaven works through interruption. You thought the animal was wasting your time, but heaven may have been buying it, buying you distance, buying you protection, buying you a different outcome. Because if you had moved forward at the exact speed you intended, something could have unfolded very differently. Think about it. What would have happened if you never slowed down, if you never paused, if that small creature had not stood in your way? Would you have arrived at a place at the wrong moment? Would you have crossed paths with someone meant to harm your path? Would you have stepped into a conversation that would have altered your direction? Chosen one, the most dangerous traps are not obvious ones. They are the ones disguised as ordinary moments. A meeting, a road, a turn, a conversation. And the enemy waits patiently for you to step into them without hesitation. But sometimes heaven intervenes with something simple. A delay. Not a dramatic miracle, just a pause. Just enough time to shift the timeline. Because once you slow down, everything else shifts. The car that would have been beside you is now far ahead. The person you might have encountered has already left. The door that might have opened too early is now closed. The entire sequence changes. And you walk through life never realizing what you were spared. This is the hidden mercy of divine delay. You thought it was inconvenience, but it was protection. You thought you were losing time, but heaven was rearranging time. Chosen ones experience this pattern again and again. Plans collapse, appointments cancel, journeys stall. You feel blocked, you feel frustrated. You ask the question every chosen soul has asked at least once. Why does everything slow down when I try to move forward? But what if the slowing was the miracle? What if the delay was the shield? Because angels do not always push you toward doors. Sometimes they hold you back from them. Sometimes the greatest favor in your life comes disguised as resistance. You tried to move forward, but something stood in your path. Something forced you to wait. Something delayed you just long enough for destiny to shift quietly in your favor. And now when you look back, that moment may feel different. Not random, not meaningless, strategic, because heaven does not waste interruptions on ordinary paths. If your life has been delayed, redirected, slowed down in strange ways, it is often because your path is under protection. And the next sign reveals something even more mysterious about that encounter. Because in some of these moments, the animal did something that felt almost impossible to ignore. It looked at you, not casually, not briefly, but deeply, almost as if it recognized you. Fifth sign, the animal looked directly into your eyes. Not a quick glance. Not the nervous look animals usually give before they run. It held your gaze. Still, focused, almost aware. You remember that moment because something about it felt unusual, almost uncomfortable, almost sacred. For a few seconds, the noise of the world disappeared. Just you and that creature, looking straight into you, not past you, into you. And something inside your spirit stirred. Chosen one understand what many people never realize. Animals respond to presence, not titles, not status, not appearance. Presence. They feel energy. They sense authority in ways human eyes cannot see. That is why animals react differently to different people. Some they avoid, some they trust, and some they stare at with deep attention because they sense something unusual. Now think about your life. You have walked through rooms where people felt uneasy around you. You have entered spaces where the atmosphere shifted. You have spoken truth and watched people become uncomfortable without knowing why. You thought it was rejection. You thought something was wrong with you. But what if it was recognition? Recognition of something on you that the world cannot explain? The same presence that unsettles darkness also registers with creation. That moment when the animal locked eyes with you was not casual curiosity, it was response. Because animals are not distracted by social mass. They do not care about appearances. They respond to what is real, and what is real about you is spiritual weight, an assignment, a mark, a calling that the enemy has tried for years to silence. You have been misunderstood, misread, misjudged. People have projected their fears onto you. They called you intense, different, too serious, too aware. But the truth is simpler. You carry presence, and presence always reveals the difference between light and darkness. The world tries to numb that awareness. Distractions, noise, endless movement. But animals are not distracted. They are sensitive, quiet observers of spiritual atmosphere. So when that stray creature stood still and looked directly into your eyes, something ancient inside creation responded, not to your personality, to your spirit. That is why the gaze felt deeper than normal, why it lingered longer than expected, why you walked away thinking about it later. Because for a moment, the unseen world acknowledged you. Chosen ones often underestimate the spiritual gravity they carry. You think you are just surviving, just navigating life, just trying to keep going. But heaven sees more, and darkness sees more. The enemy does not fight ordinary lives the way he has fought yours. The resistance you have faced, the strange obstacles, the spiritual warfare, all of it points to one truth. You carry something dangerous to darkness, and when that animal looked into your eyes, it was not recognizing your face, it was responding to the light on your life. That same light the enemy has tried to bury under confusion, under rejection, under years of spiritual pressure. But light cannot be erased, it can only be delayed, and heaven has been guarding that light more carefully than you realize. Sometimes with angels, sometimes with interruptions, and sometimes with creatures that pause, look, and silently acknowledge what you carry. But the deeper pattern becomes clearer when you remember the season of life when this happened. Because moments like this rarely occur when life feels easy. They happen during crossroads, during confusion, during spiritual tension. Which brings us to the sixth sign. The encounter happened during a season of confusion in your life. Not during calm, not when everything was clear. It happened when your spirit was wrestling. You were questioning something, a relationship, a direction, a move you were about to make. Maybe you felt pressure to decide quickly, pressure to follow a path others expected. Your mind was crowded with voices, advice, opinions, expectations, but your spirit felt unsettled. Chosen one crossroads are dangerous places, not just emotionally, spiritually, because confusion is the enemy's favorite atmosphere. When the path is clear, you walk with confidence, but when the path is foggy, you are vulnerable. Doubt creeps in, pressure increases. You start asking yourself questions you never asked before. Am I going the wrong way? Am I missing something? Am I about to make a mistake? That is exactly the moment when spiritual interference often happens. Because heaven does not wait until disaster strikes. Heaven interrupts during the decision, during the tension, during the moment when one step forward could take you somewhere you were never meant to go. And that is when the animal appeared. Not randomly, not casually, right in the middle of your uncertainty. Think about the timing. You were already wrestling internally, your spirit already sensed something was off, and suddenly, something external stepped into your path. A living interruption, a physical pause placed into a spiritual moment. Chosen ones experience these moments because your life carries weight. Your decisions ripple further than you realize. One wrong relationship can drain years from your calling. One wrong environment can silence your voice. One wrong partnership can redirect your destiny. The enemy understands this. That is why he pushes hard during seasons of confusion. He wants you to move quickly, to commit before your spirit regains clarity. But heaven slows the chosen during crossroads, sometimes through closed doors, sometimes through strange delays, and sometimes through something as unexpected as a stray animal standing directly in your path. Because heaven knows something you cannot yet see. The path you were about to take looked harmless, but it was not aligned. The person you were about to trust looked safe, but they carried complications. The opportunity looked promising, but it would have drained the anointing on your life. So heaven inserted a pause, a small moment, a strange interruption, enough to disrupt the momentum pulling you in the wrong direction. Chosen one confusion in your life has never been random. It has always been a battlefield. Light pulling one way, darkness pulling another, and you standing in the middle, trying to hear the quiet voice beneath the noise. That encounter happened during that exact spiritual tension, not because heaven wanted to confuse you more, but because heaven was protecting your assignment. Protection sometimes arrives in subtle forms, a delay, a feeling, a creature standing where you did not expect it. But every one of those moments carries the same hidden message. Pause, reconsider, look again, because the chosen are rarely attacked where they are strong. They are attacked where they are uncertain, and heaven watches closely in those seasons, which leads to something even more unusual about these encounters. Because sometimes the animal did not behave with the fear you would normally expect. It stayed close, almost as if it had approached you intentionally. Seventh sign, the animal showed no fear of you. And that detail matters, because stray animals usually run. They survive by instinct. They avoid humans. They scatter the moment someone approaches. Fear keeps them alive. Yet this one did not run. It stayed. Maybe it walked toward you. Maybe it stood calmly in front of you. Maybe it simply refused to leave. But the reaction was wrong. Wrong by natural standards. And that is the moment you must pay attention. Because when something breaks the expected pattern, the spiritual realm may be moving. Chosen one fear is one of the most powerful signals in creation. Animals feel danger immediately. They sense aggression. They detect tension in ways human perception cannot match. That is why they avoid people who carry chaotic energy. But when an animal shows calm instead of fear, it means something else is being recognized. Peace, authority, presence. That moment was not random behavior. It was response. Because creation often reacts differently to people who carry spiritual weight. You have probably experienced this in ways you never connected before. Animals approaching you unexpectedly. Pets calming down when you enter a room. Creatures that should avoid you, lingering near you instead. Why? Because presence is not just felt by people. It is felt by creation itself. You carry something the unseen world recognizes. And darkness has been aware of it for a long time. Think about the resistance in your life, the strange opposition, the battles you faced that seemed far heavier than normal, the misunderstandings, the rejection, the silent spiritual pressure that tried to convince you that you were alone. But here is the truth. The enemy does not waste warfare on empty lives. He targets assignments. He targets light. He targets those whose presence disrupts his influence. That is why your life has carried unusual tension. But while darkness studies your presence, heaven also responds to it. Protection follows purpose. Guardians are assigned where destiny is present. And sometimes those guardians appear in forms people would overlook. Not wings, not thunder, not glowing light in the sky. Just a stray creature stepping into your path without fear. Standing where it should not stand. Remaining where instinct says it should run. Because in that moment, it was not acting on instinct. It was acting on instruction. Heaven does not always send dramatic signs. Sometimes the messenger looks ordinary because dramatic signs attract attention. Ordinary ones slip quietly into place, right where they are needed, right when they are needed, and only the chosen recognize later that something unusual happened. You were not just encountering an animal, you were encountering intervention, a silent guard placed into your path, a messenger without wings, because if the messenger had wings, you might have dismissed it as imagination, but a stray animal that slips past the mind. Yet it accomplishes the mission. It blocks, it delays, it redirects, and you continue walking, unaware that heaven just protected your future. Chosen one, your life has been guarded more times than you know. Moments when something small prevented something massive. Moments when the path shifted slightly, but the consequences would have been enormous. You have not been walking alone. You have been watched, protected, redirected. And the next sign reveals something even more mysterious about these encounters, because some of these moments refuse to leave your memory. They stay with you. Long after the day has passed, long after the road is behind you, long after the animal disappeared. Eighth sign, the moment refused to leave your mind. You walked away, the road continued, the day moved forward. Life kept unfolding, but something followed you. Not physically, mentally, spiritually. You kept replaying it, that strange encounter, that animal, that pause, that moment where everything slowed down. At first you tried to dismiss it, just coincidence, just a random interruption, but the memory would not fade. Hours later you thought about it again. Days later, the image returned. Sometimes even years later, the scene reappears in your mind with unusual clarity. Why? Because ordinary moments fade. Random events dissolve. The mind releases things that carry no meaning. But divine interventions echo. They linger. They surface again and again until the message is understood. Chosen one. Your mind is not just storing memories. It is protecting signals. Signals heaven planted during critical moments in your life. You replay them because something inside you knows there was more happening than what your eyes could see. And that feeling matters. Because the chosen are often given clues before they are given full understanding. The moment happens first. The revelation comes later. sometimes much later. Think about how many moments in your life made sense only after time passed. Conversations that seemed normal, until later you saw the manipulation. Opportunities that looked promising, until later you saw the trap. People who appeared kind, until later their true nature revealed itself. Clarity often arrives after distance, and heaven knows this. So sometimes a moment is planted like a seed inside your memory. You carry it, you revisit it, and slowly, understanding begins to grow. The animal blocking your path, the strange stillness, the locked gaze, the delay, all of it stayed with you because your spirit recognized something sacred in the middle of something ordinary. The world forgets moments like this, but you did not, because you were meant to remember. Your spirit was recording something important, evidence that you are not walking alone, evidence that unseen protection has been operating in your life far longer than you realized, evidence that your path has been guarded. Chosen ones often underestimate how much intervention surrounds their lives. You see the struggles, you remember the battles, you feel the warfare, but you rarely see the protection that prevented disasters you never even knew were coming. Heaven works quietly, not always announcing its movements, sometimes leaving only small clues behind. Moments that stay in your mind long after they pass. Because later, when your awareness grows, those clues become confirmation. Confirmation that your life is not random. Confirmation that your steps are watched. Confirmation that your destiny carries weight in both realms. The enemy wants you to believe you are alone, that your path is chaotic, that the strange moments in your life mean nothing. But the longer you walk this journey, the more patterns you begin to see. Interruption, delay, protection, redirection, over and over again. And the memory of that animal remains because it is part of that pattern. A quiet reminder that heaven intervenes in ways most people would never recognize. But the final sign reveals something even more powerful. Because sometimes that small interruption did more than delay you. Sometimes it stopped you from stepping into a path that would have changed your destiny entirely. Ninth sign. The interruption may have saved your destiny. Not just your day, not just your schedule, your destiny. At the time it looked small, a stray animal in the road, a pause in your movement, a few seconds stolen from your plans. But heaven does not measure moments the way humans do. What looked minor on the surface may have been a spiritual rescue in disguise. Because chosen one, the enemy watches for turning points. Moments when your life is about to shift. Moments when your path is about to rise. Moments when the next decision could either align you with your assignment or pull you away from it. Those moments are dangerous, not just emotionally, spiritually, because before every major elevation, warfare intensifies. Before every destiny, shift traps are placed. Relationships appear that feel perfect. Opportunities open that seem exciting. Paths reveal themselves that look harmless. But the enemy hides consequences inside attractive doors. He hopes you will move quickly. He hopes you will step forward before your spirit can discern the truth. But heaven watches those moments carefully, because you are not just another life moving randomly through time. You carry assignment. You carry influence. You carry light that darkness cannot afford to let rise freely. So when the enemy prepares a trap, heaven prepares protection, and sometimes that protection looks almost ridiculous. A stray animal, a silent interruption, a creature standing where it should not be, yet refusing to move. Why? Because sometimes the smallest guardian blocks the largest mistake of your life. That pause could have prevented a collision you never saw coming. That delay could have stopped you from meeting someone who would have drained your calling. That interruption could have kept you from stepping into a path that would have cost years of your destiny. You will never know every danger heaven has quietly moved out of your way, but the pattern is clear. Your life has been guarded, not once, not twice, again and again. You have felt it. Moments where something invisible shifted your direction. Moments where something blocked your path when everything seemed ready to move forward. Moments where you thought life was working against you, only to realize later it was working for you. Chosen one, understand this final truth. Protection follows purpose. Guardians surround assignment. And when heaven decides that your destiny must remain intact, Even creation itself can be positioned to protect it. That stray animal was not random. That moment was not meaningless. That interruption was not accidental. It was evidence. Evidence that your path is being watched. Evidence that your steps matter in ways you are only beginning to understand. And if heaven has been willing to send messengers in the smallest forms to protect your future, imagine the level of protection surrounding the rest of your journey. You were never ordinary. You were never random. You were never walking this path alone. You were chosen, marked before you understood why your life felt different, protected before you even recognized the dangers around you, prepared through every struggle you once thought was punishment. But it was never punishment. It was preparation. Preparation for the assignment you carry. Preparation for the impact your life will have. Preparation for the moment when everything begins to align. Darkness tried to delay you, but delay is not defeat. Confusion tried to silence you, but confusion cannot erase calling. And every strange interruption in your life has been part of a larger protection strategy surrounding your destiny. So hear this clearly. You are not unlucky. You are guarded. You are not lost. You are being guided. And the path meant for you cannot be stolen. If this message reached you today, take a moment and stand in that awareness. Type 9 in the comments if you recognize these signs in your own life. Let it be a declaration, a signal to others walking the same path. And if you are ready to continue awakening to the hidden patterns surrounding the chosen, subscribe to this channel. Because what you have experienced is only the beginning of what you are about to understand. Your life is not random, your protection is not accidental, and your destiny is still unfolding. Chosen one, keep walking. Nothing sent against you will stop what heaven has already decided.